Speed has become a genre of its own. Everything from sports to movies to reality stuff. On bikes, cars, jets, horses, you name it. What's more exciting than Speed? Well, Season 4 The Boys maybe. We'll call it a tie. As we cruise past the season finale of another Boys installment, we have to count down our outrageous speedsters that have amped to show value and given the other powered folks a real run for their money. When these guys are hot on their feet, if someone were to say speed of sound, I would reply, what speed of sound? A-Train immediately comes to mind, but what if I told you someone was even faster than A-Train? In fact, a case can be made for two people to have outrun A-Train in their prime. Let us explore the top 5 speedsters in the Voice universe and see who holds the ultimate powertrain crown. Before we get into it, we have a small request. If you like the content, please support us by subscribing. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you, and let's roll. At number 5, Queen Maeve. Top speed 150 plus miles per hour. Role in the Boys world. Queen Maeve was the second most powerful supe in the 7 and was Homelander's driving partner for most of his missions in the 7. Maeve started out as a bright little redhead, Maggie Shaw. She was smart and idealistic, even with a weird profiteering father who made her flaunt her powers for money. But after she came into the 7, life got real twisted, real quick. Instead of helping people, which she loved to do, she became a helping hand for Homelander. To their credit, Homelander and her did successfully take on a lot of dangerous missions. While Homelander did it mostly to keep up his image, Queen Maeve did it because she was a benevolent soul, but Homelander is anything but stable. And in his company, Maeve has been complicit to some terrible things like letting a flaming aircraft full of people crash to their death, all the while smiling and waving for the cameras and maintaining the queen image that Vought needed her to. She was kept from being with Elena, the woman she loved. Maeve became a wasted mess until the last season, when she found it within herself to stick it to Homelander. She trained hard to take on Homelander and busted his chops up the Vought Tower in the Season 3 finale, before heroically jumping out of the building, tagging the ready-to-blow Soldier Boy along with her. The comic Maeve didn't have some of the attachments the show has provided, for instance, the Elena love angle, but Maeve was a perpetually drunk woman who had lost her drive to do anything worthwhile. Homelander killed her in their final fight, and I'm glad the series didn't follow the suit right here and let our sweet Maeve live. In a sneaky offside reveal in the Prime series, though, we uncovered that Maeve and Butcher hooked up one time and she became pregnant with his child. Is that a little ring-a-ding to her return bearing Butcher's soup baby in Season 5? Well, what do you think? Powers. Maeve has superhuman senses like super hearing, reflexes, and much more, but she doesn't make top grade for the variety of colorful abilities she possesses. She is considered one of the most powerful supes out there because of the coactive combo she's packing. She takes the edge with a medley of her super strength, super durability, and totally stupefying hand-to-hand combat skills. In all her defining moments in the Prime series, this has been her trademark style. Whether in the opening episode of The Boys when Maeve brings an armored truck to splinters just by standing its way, later on when she makes a surprise entrance to help Kimiko and Starlight defeat the Nazi Stormfront, or at her very last in the series when she battles Homelander. It's always been about how she delivers the blows with agility and martial skill while enduring the opponent's knockbacks that gets her the crown. Speed factor. Queen Maeve is pretty fast compared to other supes. She can outrun trucks and use the momentum to run up walls and do crazy stuff like leap into long projectiles. But all this information, we can make a wild estimate of 150 miles per hour or 67 meters per second, but her speed never tested down to the second, likening our lady to an automobile. And so far as overall powers go, I would describe her as a sports car rather than a supercar, a Ferrari Spider instead of a Ferrari 812 Superfast. She has class and aerodynamic design, but it's more practical and real, less brash and flashy.
Everything all right, sir?
Number 4, Homelander. Top speed 767 miles per hour. Role in The Boys. Homelander, a man who needs no introduction, is the past, present, and future all-embracing villain of The Boys TV series. In the comics, he possibly shares that spot with Black Noir, who turned out to be Homelander 2.0 by the end. If you're curious about that little detail, you can check out our video, 12 Black Noir differences between the comics and TV series explained, and get your mind blown. Homelander is at the top of the food chain of the narcissistic and corrupt corrupt superhero world of The Boys. And while he has the goods to back up his top positioning, he also nurses deep insecurities and a stunted mental growth, which makes him react to a lot of situations like a bit of a man-child. This is due to his exceptionally traumatic upbringing. Born in 1981, Homelander spent his childhood in a lab being a subject of harsh experiments and mental conditioning, having him crave adoration and approval, which he never received as a child. It was basically a Vought product like any other suit. But since he was already hailed as the most powerful suit ever created, he was controlled by the corporation from birth up until Stillwell's death. By killing Stillwell and finding his son Ryan, he broke the remaining flimsy shackles that Vought still had him bound with. After that, it was only a matter of time till he assumed complete control of Vought. Raised in an isolated lab, never having learned family values, empathy, or sympathy, or what separates right from wrong, he has become a man so callous and self-centered that he is cut off from everyone else's pain or even existence. As the chairman of Vought, who is doubly dangerous, he hates the non-powered people who had caused his suffering, and it feels like he's just waiting to launch an all-out war against them, burning him down the way the lab scientists had done him when he was young. In the comics, Homelander ultimately invaded the White House with an army of soups and decapitated the president Victor Newman upon a Vought. In the Prime series, Victor is gender-swapped Victoria Newman, who is in spitting distance from the presidency. While Homelander and Victoria have joined forces right now, they aren't exactly bosom buddies. I'm curious to see if Victoria ends up sharing comic Victor's lousy fate from Homelander's hands. Powers. Homelander's got it all, folks. We know this from the TV series and the comics, but let's check his party pack anyway for a bit of fun. Let's see, he has super strength, which means he can tear a mid-flight aircraft's tail apart, but that wasn't its full effect either, as he needed his feet planted over the ground or something else solid to use his complete power. His natural body armor can dodge massive explosions, and nothing less than a thermonuclear explosion, or in the comics, his more powerful clone Black Noir's attacks could destroy his body superficially. His superhuman immunity that Dr. Samir Shah stated was so strong that the regular suit virus he's replicated wouldn't even work on Homelander. He needs to make it much stronger, albeit airborne, and risk the lives of all supes to take one Homelander down. Legendary superhuman stamina. I mean, he's an actor too. Remember, he stays up on his feet, taking multiple takes of multiple shots without breaking a sweat. And in a heavy-duty costume, just ask Anthony Starr how hard that is. Okay, just kidding. Back to Homelander's powers. The guy can fly around all day without breaking to catch his breath and soar all the way up to space, waiting our atmospheric resistance. He can chase planes, the whole shebang. He's got heat vision, which has been his greatest weapon yet and the most commonly used one after maybe his super strength. He's also got super hearing and X-ray vision, which helps him read people's heart rates and anxiety levels, even medical issues. Remember how he diagnosed Butcher with a brain tumor some time back? It also allows him to play Peeping Tom whenever he so wishes. He's got a bloodhound sense of smell, which let him know his son has been out meeting Butcher, whose smell he had carried with him. Most importantly, he has great regenerative healing, so even if he does get slashed somehow, he's going to repair pretty fast, as we saw when Queen Maeve and him got into a scrape at the end of Season 3. And now on to what we've all been waiting for. Speed factor. Homelander is overall the fastest suit on Earth. If we're talking ground speeds in air, his speed is in excess of 343 mph or 767 miles per hour, which is the speed of sound. Even as a kid, Homelander could break the sound barrier. He can easily catch a train on his feet and has the sickest flight speed out of any suit too. His vertical takeoff game has always been on point. In the first season of the Prime series, when Homelander went looking for the missing translucent, he was flying at the speed of approximately 1,160 miles per hour at sea level. That's crazy fast, but the Soup Supreme is even faster than that. He had caught up and hijacked an F-16 fighter jet once. F-16s move at top speeds of a tad under 1,500 miles per hour, and that is Mach 2. We cannot really put a number on how fast Homelander is because time and again, he had one upsy moments like the one when he escaped a bomb explosion, a C4 RDX to be exact. The blast of the C4 bomb moves at an insane 18,000 miles per hour. All we know is that the guy is faster than the blink of an eye, but his overall power set is so awesome that his speed alone has never defined him, as it has the likes of Marathon Man or A-Train. Number 3, Mr. Marathon. Top speed 767 miles per hour plus. Rolling the boys. Mr. Marathon was the OG speedster of the 7, but his run on the team was cut short. In the Prime series, he has been MIA with only a few references like the storyboards of his movie Dawn of the 7, and in conversation with Ashley and Lamplighter revealing their personal relationship with the Marathon Man. Given Mr. Marathon's history of sneaking in college girls in the Vought Tower with Lamplighter, one can tell he has some debauched personal fantasies which are not unusual for supes. Given that supes as a collective are so hedonistic, I'm beginning to think it has something to do with Compound V. It is kind of like the brain chemicals that induce a lack of inhibition in manic episodes suffered by bipolar people. We don't know why he was cut from the 7, whether Vought just wanted a reboot version of the Speedster to give Ashley and gang something fresh to work into their PR game, or something else. Anyway, we know that Mr. Marathon is alive and well, and may show up on our screens someday. His role in the comics, though short and tragic, is more spiel-worthy. And just to let you know, the comic Mr. Marathon actually wears tight red running shorts with a change of manpris at all times. You can't say the Vought costume people don't have a sense of humor. I mean, with Jack to Jupiter's strip show briefs and boots combo, then the teenage kicks, kinky Halloweeny costumes, and now Mr. Marathon's raptor mask and tight shorts, it likely aids his speed hustle. But come on, in Boys issue number 21, the 7 were on a high production mission to save the Pentagon. Mr. Marathon was flying with the help of other supes to rescue the passengers aboard a quote-unquote hijacked plane. This seems like the scene that inspired Homelander in Queen Maeve's botched rescue attempt in season 1 of the Boys TV series. Remember that holy mess? Believe it or not, the comic version is worse. So Homelander already mucked the mission by ripping the moving plane's emergency door out, which caused a boy's death, and then yelling "shut up" to the panicked passengers, destroying the eardrums with his supersonic voice. It was all going south real quick. After all, the Vought bigwigs are too daft to train the suits for any dangerous eventuality. Homelander wanted to abandon the plane and go home already, but Mr. Marathon begged him to stay, and they tried something else. Homelander slung Mr. Marathon at the plane's tail wing to try and change the plane's course, but he used too much force. The wing broke off on impact, and Mr. Marathon shared its fate. His decapitated body fell to the earth, ending his story on a morbid note. Powers. In his short stint in the comics and overall absence from the show, it is hard to say what he is capable of. We know that Homelander's sonic lashing didn't affect his ears, as it did the other passengers on the plane, so he's probably got superhuman hearing, but aside from that, his key performance indicator is his speed factor. Speed factor. Mr. Marathon was a fireball, the fastest man on the planet at one point. He was as fast or faster than Homelander if we go by his reputation. Although there is no race to pull a speed measure, he was considered the fastest man in the world during his time in the 7. An educated guess for his speed would be more than 767 miles per hour or 343 mph on feet. Now here's the interesting detail though. He may have been faster than A-Train, as it is said that the founding members of the 7 were administered with the most copious amounts of Compound V, and that is why they outperformed the successive members in their lock, stock, and barrel power packages. Did you know Mr. Marathon was once slated for a race against A-Train, but the race that was hinted at and would have been the ultimate speed test for Marathon Man unfortunately never took place. What a letdown. Next up at number 2, Shockwave. Top speed 765 miles per hour. Rolling the boys. Shockwave, played in the series by Mishka Zibod, was the second fastest guy on Earth and at one point even considered the next A-Train. He appeared briefly in seasons 1 and 2 of the Boys TV series. He had great confidence in his ability and pace and was pretty cocky before his race with A-Train in the first season. In the pre-race interview, he said that A-Train was not going to remain the fastest man forever. He had created quite a stir among the crowd, and it was all enough for A-Train himself to get pretty nervous. He ultimately lost the race, but given the circumstances of A-Train's win, I would argue that Shockwave was the fastest man on Earth on that particular day. Shockwave's popularity didn't suffer, as he was seen signing autographs for his fans later on. Shockwave was also in the talks about joining the 7 in season 2 before A-Train is ejected from the 7. Shockwave was at the Vought Tower, likely discussing his entry into the 7, but that never happened. He was present at the fateful congressional hearing about Vought making Compound V alongside other members of the 7 when Victoria Newman showed the boys and girls how it's done. She went on a head-splattering binge, and Shockwave was one of the casualties. Powers. While most of Shockwave's powers are ordinary by Soup's standards like super strength and super hearing, he does have some interesting gifts. For instance, the power he gets his Soup name from is the Shockwave clap. He can generate high-octane shockwaves by clapping his hands together. While it isn't clear whether this is a welcome side effect of his amazing speed or a completely separate feature, it is quite a unique power to have. He is obviously pretty durable, enduring the pressure of 342 mph level of speed as well as the air resistance that comes with sudden acceleration. Speed factor. Shockwave has tested and tried top speed of 765 miles per hour or 342 meters per second. Wicked fast, which means he probably goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in well under a second. Mind-blowing acceleration. As far as accolades go, he was the second fastest man after A-Train, but it wasn't just a call, as it was decided in a race where A-Train had an unfair advantage. And if you're curious to know what happened, let us go on and check out the number one standing. Of course, none other than A-Train at number 1 with a top speed of 829.9 miles per hour. Roll in the boys. A-Train, though initially more of a hype and an inclusivity card than a real thing, has been totally rebranded, and I don't mean just his costume. He's coming around to find the actual superhero inside him. While he had spent a lot of time reflecting upon the actions of his selfish past, he couldn't find it in him to risk it all by leaving the Seven. A-Train's elder brother, Nathan, plays a big part in his journey to redemption. He gradually reached the point where he couldn't help himself. In Season 3, the situation with Blue Hawk and getting bullied by Homelander, Homelander just treats him like his property, beating up innocent people for Sage's schemes, and he is about done. He started helping the boys more and more and essentially became a mold that has been exposed as one after he fought off the deep in the boys' lair. So he has sprinted his Speedster behind away from the Vought Tower into a risky game of code. Speaking of Speedsters, A-Train honestly resembles a Bugatti Bolide. Go ahead, Google it. That hypercar is an A-Train with a W16 metallic engine. He's certainly just as smooth and quiet on cruise and has stability and control at breakneck speeds. When he isn't on that extra V, that is, A-Train was formerly a member of a nutty teen squad called Teenage Kicks, which is one of the few similarities between the TV series A-Train and his comic version. He was also similarly recruited by the Seven, and he killed Huey's girlfriend Robin in both versions as well. On the whole, the comic A-Train is a jerk with speeding colors. He was involved in sexually assaulting Starlight when she first joined the Seven, and nothing wholesome ever comes out of his mouth. Most of the time, even his own team thinks of him as a wacky fly in the milk types that doesn't deserve their attention. He died a painful death, an uncharacteristic act of vengeance by Huey kicking A-Train's head clean off his shoulders. In the series, A-Train and Huey buried the hatchet and shook on it. So A-Train is mostly guilt-free in that area, but A-Train's future in Season 5 is precarious as Homelander has a zero-tolerance policy for moles, and he ain't exactly slow on the tracking, pun intended. Could A-Train dodge heat vision coming at him from an airbound Homelander? Well, let us get into his strap for an inventory check. Powers. A-Train is strapped with superhuman strength. Remember him pulling that train and fighting Starlight earlier in the series? The time when he comes to blows with the Deep, a fellow Soup, to save Starlight and Butcher from Deep and Black Noir, he decks him pretty good. Although A-Train's durability has only been tested on his speedy feats, there are a few instances when he did alright. The one moment of great weakness that stands out to me is when Kimiko pasted A-Train with a metal rod at Huey's house, and we all were like, wait, what? He neither sensed that coming nor dodged it with his super speed and totally yelped because of it. And it makes me wonder about his overall durability and what on the reverse spinning core Earth happened to his reflexes there. I guess everyone has their moments of weakness. Speed factor. While A-Train's speed has been made a marketing tool by Vought, so much so that before his race of the century with Shockwave, the announcer hyped the crowd with a mind-boggling statement. He said A-Train can run at speeds in excess of 1,000 miles per hour, but even with a shot of V to help him win the race he so desperately wanted to, he topped out at 829.9 miles per hour or 371 mph. It still made him the fastest man on Earth, just not a 1,000 solid, and considering he was abusing V to pad his stats, he will put a pin in that and explore some other cases where he has come up on top. It is said that when he was being trained by his older brother Nathan, he clocked at 3,600 miles per hour, but that may have been because he was much younger at the time or because he developed a heart condition. Well, he does have a new heart now. He is likely to improve his performance, maybe even reach the famed 1,000 miles per hour. In the comics, A-Train is capped at the speed of sound. Well, they've remodeled him for the series, and he also benefits from his speed outside the racetrack. track. An exciting facet of A-Train in the series is how he uses it in combat. When the Deep and him got into it the second time around, the Deep could barely get a shot off, and A-Train zipped around him like an annoying untouchable bug, much like the earlier time he fought Starlight. Though the slow-mo made that scene more intense, A-Train is confident he can run around the entire Manhattan in 3 hours. No hyper or super ride will ever be enough for that man. Even his superhuman reflexes work just fine while dodging Starlight's quick beam attacks. His extraordinary speed allows him to cruise onto water on foot, which also means he has a superior set of lungs and heart on him. His speed is supplemented by amazing stamina that kept him gassed up, non-stop from New York to Havana. Even the cameras need an upgrade of 5,000 frames per second to capture him in action. The cherry on top, A-Train is a silent blaze. Aside from a sonic boom when he's just taking off or killing the engine, he makes no sound at all, even when he's going full steam. This is probably the reason Robin and Huey never heard him coming before he splattered her over the curb. Marvelous verdict. There isn't a green hell-type racetrack where we can see how these guys run the ring. Aside from A-Train and Shockwave, who got real-time tested, the other contenders aren't even show racers who would do that type of thing. But as far as hot rods go, we will give it to A-Train for now, mostly because of his impact. He is the speed guy and has probably inspired a lot of young soups who dream of joining the Seven. God help them. And don't forget that there's a new heart in the building. A-Train may finally be able to give us his best without abusing V. However, it must be noted that A-Train stole the race of the century from Shockwave, who finished pretty close and may have won that thing had A-Train gone running without the juice. This is also the curious case of Mr. Marathon, who received way higher doses of Compound V when he was a kid and may have been faster than A-Train in his prime, but one can never say for sure, as these OGs have not been test-driven with a stopwatch. While no one can rival Homelander in skyrocketing, that's a given, A-Train came into his own in Season 4 of the Prime series in a big way. He didn't get torn up with snake tentacles or killed off otherwise like the Shocker with Victoria Newman, and we can expect more and more displays of his zipping abilities in the future. I'm sure he'll take the crown for the undisputed powertrain pretty soon. Alright, that's all from us, folks. Make sure to drop the name of your favorite speedster in the comments below, and share your thoughts on who you think is the fastest speedster in the boys. As always, if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.